Now here's a fun question for you. Is optimism cool? Negative keywords and sites form sort of an algorithm on the internet and tend to attract more hits because of morbid fascination and our ever-increasing addiction to drama, conflict, and the egregious actions and behaviors that flood our news feeds. And I admit, I go through periods of being a news junkie, but I find that although it informs me, it's a little spirit-crushing. Now, I do view myself as an optimist, and my simple definition of an optimist is someone who sees the future as bright. And after a year of this pandemic with a lot of contention and division, optimism can seem idealistic and Pollyanna with so much negative focus and forecasts for dismal future possibilities. But I entertain the thought, and I invite you to think of optimism as actually being disruptive. You can embrace this as an attitude that you can adopt and shift as well with a simple change of focus. You can simply start by projecting your specific wins or successes for tomorrow. And this attitude shift is a conscious choice that you can employ on a case-by-case basis. And you don't even have to consider yourself an optimist to be optimistic about an outcome. And my experience has absolutely shown me that I have a better chance of creating what I focus on, whether that's a negative outcome or a positive outcome. And you can guess which one is more fun, brings more joy, and literally makes you healthier. Go check out the plethora of studies on optimism versus pessimism online if you want to learn more. Now, psychologist Nancy Cantor defined a term she calls defensive pessimism, which is a strategy to prepare for anxiety-provoking events or performances. And an example of this is getting super stressed out about an upcoming test, motivated by anxiety to work hard and ace that test. Now, the route of the optimist is to understand the work that needs to be done and allocate the time, learn all the material, and ace that same test, but with the experience of being calm, cool, and collected. I think the victory is even sweeter knowing that you achieved the same goal with grace, and this not only makes your life better, but the lives of people in your stratosphere, since anxiety and calm are both highly contagious. Now, optimism can be learned. With my drum students, I actually teach them that if they drop a stick, it's a good sign because that means they are looser rather than choking the stick too tightly, which so many of them have a tendency to do. And this produces a dramatically different experience for the student. And if they drop a stick during a performance, they can actually take pride in the looseness of their technique, simply picking up another stick and continuing to rock rather than beating themselves up and carrying the stress into the next song. Optimists celebrate small joys, or wins as I call them, and this just fosters more joys and wins. And my experience working with many creatives has led me to believe that creativity and sustainable solutions cannot be cultivated in an environment of fear and pessimism. Try thinking of optimism and pessimism like peace and war. Optimism is truly a sustainable model just like peace, whereas pessimism and war are not sustainable because they cost lives and money and literally create dis-ease. And optimists also tend to practice humility, enhancing the lives of others, whereas pessimists tend to practice judgment and critique, which breaks people's spirits and creates unrest and dissension. It seems to have become cool to be hypercritical, especially with so many self-proclaimed critics on the internet. But I believe it's more of a challenge and more disrupting to find what you like than what you do not like, especially because all life forms on this planet are motivated by the avoidance of pain more than the pursuit of pleasure. So I'm inviting you to do as my friend Tim Sanders talks about. Feed your mind good stuff. Take a day off from your news feed and the negative stimulation you've become addicted to and replace that with an inspiring podcast or two, music, some great reading, or perhaps even being service to someone in need. By giving yourself a solid dose of optimism, you can literally stimulate your brain with a dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. It's exciting what you can create, who you can inspire, and how much service you can be to others when you go on a pessimism fast. And make it cool to be an optimist if you haven't already. Go change the world.